Welcome to the Soulish Podcast. My name is Whitney Apke and I am the host. On the Soulish Podcast, we talk all about the soul journey, the body, soul, spirit connection, and I bring on guests who are amazing healers, intuitives, mediums, psychics, body workers, doctors, relationship coaches, past life regressionists, all the things. We get all the things, astrologist. It's an amazing platform and an amazing place to have a bunch of different conversations, including even about business and purpose and wealth and abundance. And I just love the fact that I get to have you guys along with me for this journey, as I have these amazing conversations with amazing people and also get to share my thoughts, my perspectives, the things that I'm inspired by with you, my soulish tribe, my soulish fam. And I just really appreciate you guys. I appreciate you for liking and subscribing, for sharing these episodes with your friends and your family, people that you think would be open to this conversation, would be open to this perspective, belief change, just all the things. So I love you guys so much. And wow, it's officially fall, which is my favorite season of the year. I love fall. I love spring too, but there's just something about the leaves changing, especially where I live here in Colorado. It's so beautiful. And I'm having a moment with all the yellows and the deep dark reds and purples, along with the evergreens, and it's just beautiful. And right now in Colorado, are like the back mountains that are like truly 14ers, 16ers, are all packed with snow already. So it's like, ooh, like holiday vibes are on. I love it. It puts me into like this really awesome like fall herbal medicine mood. And I've been trying my hand at some elderberry syrup, which I did last year, which was really great. And I'm making fire cider for the first time this season, and that's really good for your immunity, as well as like prevention, but also like to cure. Like if you have a flu, cold symptoms, it really kicks it. It's really amazing for your immune system. So if you want my recipe, hit me up, DM me, because it's a pretty wicked awesome recipe. So I've also been sourdough breading. I've been doing that, and that's been fun because you can control, what you put in your bread. And bread and soup, like it's a fall food, right? Comfort. There's nothing like a good sourdough loaf to make you happy. But I've just been enjoying all of the things, all the fall things, and I hope that you guys are as well. I've just been also really wrapped up in nature, in the fact, just kind of watching and really observing nature take back the energy, in all the output and all of the harvesting and all of the output that the trees, the bushes, the shrubberies have been doing. It's really cool to see the process of when they begin to bring their energy into the core, and get winter ready, right? It's really cool to see just that change. And like, that's why the leaves are changing. That's why the leaves either change or fall off, or, every bush tree is different, but it's just really been interesting to observe. And it's actually really initiated my process of really internalizing things and kind of bringing my energy in rather than just being out and expressive all the time. I find myself really reflecting prior to expressing, or prior to even going on, Instagram live or stories or whatever. I find myself really like taking in those thoughts and really internalizing them and having them go through a long process prior. And that's just me. It's not in a judgment or anything. I just find myself like really taking my time with stuff and slowing things down and getting more internal. And so it's really been kind of fun to observe that both within myself and on the outside and everything that's happening with nature. But I wanted to talk with you guys today about some things that obviously have been coming up at the time of recording this podcast. The whole conflict within Israel, Hamas, all of that has been about a week since that kind of went down and everything. So as of right now, definitely kind of in this place of really contemplating and observing what's happening. And it's been really interesting. I have also been working with plant medicine more regularly the last couple months, and I've shared a few of those like little shroomy bits of wisdom and knowledge that I've gotten as I've gotten it with you guys. But this last journey was really interesting because it was more of like taking out all the layers. Like, if your brain is like spaghetti, and every memory, every conversation, every thought, every feeling, every experience is kind of wrapped up, kind of like spaghetti noodles all tangled up together. I felt like they were kind of like pulling apart the noodles and talking about every noodle and why it touches this noodle and that noodle. It was like 100 conversations happening at the same time, but there was a lot of like unconditioning and also evaluating my life, evaluating my existence, evaluating my thoughts, all the stories that I have, which stories could be also experiences, perspectives on experiences, belief systems, conditioning, programming, right? Even memories, like how my brain has chosen to remember an experience that I experienced. And so they were showing me all of these things, and it was a little overwhelming. At one point I asked them, I was like, okay, I like right now, I can't distinguish between what is reality in this lifetime versus my reality from previous past lives, or memories I've had, or hopes and dreams that I've had of the future, like things that I've wanted. I can't tell if I've lived that, or if it's just a dream that I've had, or a memory from a past life. I was like, I don't know what is and what isn't. And they kind of, I just felt like they kind of chuckled a little bit. I have a pretty open communication with these guys because I've been working with them for a few months now. So I feel like I can, with mushrooms, you sometimes it's just an understanding. Sometimes you literally hear something, or you think the thought. Sometimes you just have this knowing in this sense. Plant medicine is always different for everyone, so don't judge, or expect the same thing because it's different for everyone. But I have a pretty open dialogue, and so I felt like they chuckled, and they were like, "Does it matter?" And I was like, "That's a good question. Does it matter? What is or isn't? What was or wasn't? What will be or won't be? Like, you're right. It doesn't matter." And they're like, "And do you know why it doesn't matter, so much? Whether it is or isn't? Like, I mean, it's your choice to feel like if it matters or not, but does it have to? And do you know why it wouldn't so much?" And I was like, "No, I have no clue, because it really feels like it would matter, like if I've experienced that or not. It kind of matters right now, but I know this is part of like the deconditioning, or like the unegoing my life." And so I get that. Like, that's why we're together right now doing the work. And they're like, because in your consciousness doesn't necessarily know the difference between something that you've lived in just your head versus something you've actually in real life experienced. And I was like, "That's interesting." And they were like, "And your body doesn't know the difference. Your mind doesn't know the difference. Your emotions don't know the difference. Your emotions have felt the feelings regardless. Your mind has thought the thoughts and seen it happen regardless. Your body doesn't know the difference between something that you've actually lived or something that you're suffering right just in your mind." And so I was like, whoa, that's crazy to think about, the fact that whether I've dreamed something or actually lived something, I've experienced it to some level. I think there is a bit of a difference when you actually experience something versus not, but it's not as different of an experience as we would probably think. I mean, I wouldn't. I would think you either have or you haven't. But they were saying it's actually more connected than you think, and it's actually more reality than you would think it would be, even though it's just a dream or just a thought or just a perception, projection, memory. And I was like, wow, that's really, really, really interesting. So it got me thinking, y'all, like, what am I creating? What am I putting energy into? What have I experienced? What do I want to experience? and how much of my energy and time is going in to cultivate that within myself. Because I know when it comes to manifestation, we often say and often hear, you have to think it, visualize it, feel it. As you know, this is very Joe Dispenza. You have to feel it like it's actually happened. Like there is no difference in the way that you feel about it right now, as if you were living it. There should be no difference. You should literally have the same joy, the same fulfillment, the same contentment, the same excitement, as if you're experiencing it right now. And we hear that and we go, okay, yeah. But what the mushrooms were saying is there is no difference. There is actually no difference in your consciousness and even in your energy. So I was like, so how much so is my energy different because I haven't lived some of those things that I've dreamt about for my lifetime? Like for life, I've had this dream, this hope, this wish, this want, this desire. And because I'm sad that I haven't experienced it yet, my body thinks I haven't experienced it at all. So will I ever then experience it? And it got me thinking, um, if I've dreamt the dream and I have the desire, the feelings, as if I've already lived it, does it really matter that I actually live it? Like, does that change the way I feel? I'm feeling as though I already have. And I'm visualizing it to the level, that I can see everything. I can see it all. I can see it all happening. What is the difference between that dream reality versus lived 3D reality? What's the true difference there? Obviously, there is a slight difference, but follow me here. Then I've technically lived my dream. It's just that I've lived my dream in my consciousness, right? In my energy, in my mind, in my emotions, and I haven't actually lived it here, right? In the 3D, in the flesh. But I've experienced it on every other level. Is that truly a dream realized? Isn't that still a dream lived and expressed, felt, seen even? Um, just because it's not in the physical, does that really matter? It made me really question, y'all, like everything that I've wanted, everything that I've experienced, everything I haven't experienced yet in the flesh. And how much does that really matter? And it actually made me feel really empowered that even if, like, in this life, in this expression, in this body, I don't experience those things that I've dreamt about experiencing in this life, I can still experience them. Like, I'm not limited to it being experienced in this 3D flesh human world reality. I can experience it on so many other realities. Just because it hasn't been experienced in the flesh doesn't mean it hasn't been experienced at all. So that really, like, I don't know about you guys, and I hope that this is translating and making sense, but I can't tell you how much that set me free. How much of the, I guess, FOMO that I didn't even realize I had, it gave me so much peace to just realize that it's not all in my head. I can actually experience this in so many other ways. Just because I haven't experienced it yet in the flesh doesn't mean I haven't experienced it at all. It doesn't mean it hasn't been realized or lived. And I think we focus so much on the material realm, right? And this flesh 3D realm, human experience, and manifesting in this human experience, which isn't not important and isn't not cool and shouldn't be part of our aim, right? To experience things in this human realm. But it just made me realize it's not everything. And as much as we kind of make it the end goal or like everything, it isn't truly everything. Because we're multidimensional beings, we could experience something in the spirit world, right? That we haven't experienced in the human incarnated world, but it be no less real, right? So I just realized how much power I do have in living dreams. And whether that's an expression that I express it in poetry, or I express it in writing or a song or art, or I just simply experience it in my mind and my emotions, in meditations, in walking out in nature. Like, it doesn't really matter. I can still experience my dreams, and I'm not limited to this 3D realm in that way. So it was just really, really cool wisdom. Plant medicine is so amazing. It is really hard to not fall into the trap and to not integrate. I find it very difficult to integrate those expansive thoughts of like nothing matters, nothing really matters. Does it really matter that it's, not your reality yet? It's sometimes it's hard to integrate that, because a lot of times it does matter, and with our ego, with our human nature, we're like, it does. But I think the great example and the great medicine kind of shows you just how connected you are, and the fact that you're not limited to just connecting via the body, right? Or not just connecting via the mind, the emotions. Plant medicine lets you realize that there's so many other resources and there's so many other ways to express and connect, that you're not limited to the human only connection, that you can connect in so many other ways. So I love that. That's one of the reasons why I love plant medicine and appreciate it so much and honor it. So there was that. Another thing too, I know that everyone is different when it comes to conspiracy theories, and especially with everything with awareness on the elite, right? Or that there would be an elitist agenda, to take people out, genocide. We also just had that whole like 5G blast across the nation with the emergency alert system from FEMA. And there was a lot of theories around that, and around what was the objective, what was the real objective. It wasn't to keep people safe or to let people know of something, but it's meant to start fear, stoke fear of the future, of like, why would you need a nationwide alert system when a nuke wouldn't even go coast to coast? So what is it that you're preparing for, right? And I think that a lot of people had all different types of speculation. Some people didn't care, some people really cared. I had a really interesting experience because I didn't, I have a Soma Vedic device. I think I've mentioned this before. It's this really cool glass with a crystal of some sort inside. But Soma Vedic, it basically mitigates 2G to 5G. I have the Vedic green. It used to be the Medic green. It's one of the cheaper ones that does the most, has the most interactions, but it mitigates 2G to 5G, like radiation or whatever, radio waves, also radio waves, EMF, and it also harmonizes my air, as well as it harmonizes my water. So the particles and all of that. If there's any disarray or anything like that in the air or in the water, it helps with that. So it harmonizes, brings peace, which I like. So I figured, like, if I stay home, like if they're turning up the 5G, and that impacts me in some way that's not supportive, like I should be fine under my Soma Vedic device. But I also thought, well, I'll just get out in nature, I'm kind of surrounded in an apartment by everyone's Wi-Fi's. And so I love going out into nature and just kind of getting out anyway. So I thought I'd do that. My experience was a little different. I don't see that I have a ton of 5G wires around me. I'm kind of right on the front range. So even my windows and balcony look out just to country. It's actually county land. And then, so it's just kind of looks like country-esqueness. And then I just get a huge unobstructed view of the front range of the Southwest front range mountains. And so it's beautiful. So I didn't think I would be really affected at all or sense anything, but I went out and took my dog out and I thought, let's just go hit the trail. We're about like a 10-15 minute walk from the trail. Not 5 minutes into the walk, I started to get a huge headache, like a kind of almost like a migraine thing. Like I felt pressure at the same time that it was kind of like sharp, nagging pain. And then I started to get nauseous. And I was like, this is interesting because I'm not afraid. I'm not like, I get all the theories and I'm aware of all of that, but it's hard to prove everything is kind of the way that I position myself. And so I was just kind of like, I just want to get out of nature. It's an excuse to turn off my electronics and get out in nature and connect and all of that. So I'm happy with that. But I started to get really sick. I was like, ooh, I feel really nauseous and I have like an immediate migraine. And so we ended up just doing a potty run and coming back in. And as soon as I was in my apartment, I felt like 100 times better. So I just stayed home, stayed inside for a little bit, and meditated and stuff. But I thought that was really interesting. One of the things that I see every time something comes up, every time some theory or some, Hamas, or some government bill that's being passed, or even, the pandemic and COVID or whatever it is, right? Like everyone has like a different, unique, perspective on things that happen in our world. But it's interesting when it's really conspiracy theoried, um, and it's kind of unknown, like you can't really prove much around something, although there's a lot of conspiracy theories that I think have ample proof. But it's interesting to me how people react and respond when they don't resonate with something. It's kind of like, oh, the people that do believe in this, they're stupid, or uneducated, or blind, to the truth. Some people get very passionate about the difference between contrails and chemtrails, right? And some people can get very heated about those topics. And it's interesting to me that we have that reaction and that response when it's just simply that some things don't resonate with some people and some things do. And they may resonate for an unsupportive reason, right? It perpetuates fear for that individual, and they're already struggling with anxiety or fear of the future. And so when they hear a conspiracy theory, it just launches them into another fear state or a deeper fear state, anxiety, anxious state. And then other people just feel like they need to point the finger at something and blame something or someone for, whatever they lack, or it could be so many things, right? Things that have happened to them in the past. They need someone to blame. Then other people don't resonate with it at all, and it may interact in a negative way with their belief system, or conditioning, programming, right? And so everyone has like a different experience and a different expression and reaction to certain things. And I find it very fascinating. But I kind of always say this because I've learned this the hard way, that every journey is sacred. Everyone's journey is sacred. So if someone is aligning with a conspiracy theory that you think is absolutely ridiculous, that cheese comes from the moon, right? And someone believes that cheese comes from the moon and they are adamant about it, and it impacts their entire life, what cheese they buy, what cheese they consume, what cheese they avoid, using this as an example. But you are like, cheese does not come from the moon. Cheese comes from cows, or goats. Like cheese comes from milk. But they are convinced cheese comes from the moon and that we are mining the moon for cheese. Then I think all that can be done, right? Because you can't change what someone wants to believe and subscribe to, right? It's not up to you to subscribe or unsubscribe on behalf of other people, right? That would be taking away their sovereign right to subscribe or unsubscribe, to consent or unconsent. We can't consent and unconsent for people. That's called power tripping. That's called control and manipulation, right? And if we are people that are interested in love and freedom and sovereignty, people having their sovereign rights given back to them, right? Or they're taking them back and they're stepping into their power, then we cannot assume that we can talk someone into subscribing to what we subscribe to, right? Or unsubscribe from what we don't subscribe to. We can't do that. We can't change people, right? We can't control people. So getting mad at people for choosing to subscribe to something or consent is kind of a waste of energy and time, is it not? I've been thinking about this for a long time because I see how much energy people put into posts that are kind of angry or hateful or belittling, diminishing someone just because they're subscribing to something that you don't subscribe to. It may very much resonate with them because they chose to resonate with that. Whether they chose to resonate with that right now, or it's like a soul contract or something that their soul came here to experience. Who are you to say that they shouldn't be experiencing that or that they shouldn't be subscribing to that, right? I don't have that right. You don't have that right. But you have your own right to subscribe and unsubscribe. So why would you waste your time telling people that they should unsubscribe and unconsent when clearly that is what they want to do and intend to do and, dare I say, need to do in this lifetime? People sometimes need to go on the journey and they need to live and experience something out in order to know that it actually doesn't align. Some people live things. Some people experience things and they choose to experience that. I've kind of gone into that place, not to say that suffering is fine and people should be, people should suffer, but I've often thought very much and wrestled with the fact that I grew up middle white class, pastor's home. God, I was so sheltered and like nothing, I can't say anything bad ever happened to me. I had parents that were so protective and watched over my little journey of a little girl growing up. And it wasn't that everything was done right. For sure, there are things that were traumatic or, scary or really kind of put me in a hard place like later on in life. But like they did the best that they could. And if I'm going to be honest, I could have been born into like a third world country and I could be picking trash, like through trash every day just to find something that I can eat right then and there, consume, and or I can sell for food later. Like that could have been my life. I could have been living in a shack that's put together with just a couple pieces of metal, chain link fencing and wood planks from the dump site. I mean, why wasn't I incarnated into that? I've been to two third world countries. I've seen poverty and suffering on a human level that I never knew really truly existed. I thought some of those like donate here commercials were, like Compassion International. I think there was a part of me that thought it was like fake or not real. When you smell poverty, when you are in it, when you are walking through it, and you're watching these people go about their day, and that is what their day consists of, it's shocking. And I have wrestled a lot with the fact that, like, these people are suffering. Like, did they choose to suffer in this life? Like, did their soul need this experience? Is this part of their like evolution, is to suffer like this, in life? Go hungry, starve, be sick, like how does one find joy and happiness when you can't even feed yourself, much less your family? When you can't shelter yourself properly from a storm? How do you enjoy life, right? If that's what we came here to do, ultimately to enjoy life. And so I've often thought that, like, maybe it is a choice. Maybe this is part of a soul contract to experience that kind of life, that kind of way of life or living. And who am I to say that that's not right for them? That they should be doing something more, something different. I would love for them to. And I know that there's a lot of organizations that help and support people, feed the hungry, clothe the homeless, right? Like, and I'm all about it. And I, in fact, donate to a lot of those types of ministries or nonprofits. So I definitely want to contribute to people and humanity, right? But just as a thought, as a concept, if every journey is sacred, I can't sacralize one and desacralize the other. I have to come to an understanding within myself, and this is just maybe for me, but maybe this resonates with you. I've had to like really work through feeling guilty for being sheltered and growing up in a Christian household, having really loving, amazing parents. Um, I felt guilty for that, because I felt like I lucked out and I was lucky, and that may be the case. But I've also wondered, I wonder if I chose this because this is what I needed. Like I'm sure at some point I've been them, and I've suffered to that level, of poverty and sickness, or whatever. Um, but I wonder, did I choose this experience? And who is anyone to say that I should have a different experience in this lifetime? That I should do something different? That I should have experienced more or less, right? Nobody can tell me that. This has been my experience, right? Nobody can tell me to go back to Christianity or religion in general, or that I'm not as spiritual as I should be, right? Like we're all on a journey. So all this to say, all of this to say that when it comes to conspiracy theories or something that is polarizing, something that may even not be positive, but may be more of a negative, right? A negative awareness of negativity, awareness of suffering, awareness of some elite agenda, genocide, whatever it is, right? I say whatever resonates with you for a reason. And anything that doesn't resonate with you for a reason, because it's not most supportive to you. But we cannot, just because it doesn't resonate or resonates, assume that it should resonate or shouldn't resonate for someone else. And that's been one thing that I've just been kind of mulling around with and honestly digesting, because it's just so different in an age where we have, well, we don't necessarily have freedom of speech at the moment, which is kind of sad in a country that was based on having freedom of speech, and freedom to live your life. We're seeing that we don't necessarily have those rights. But I think that in a world where we can openly and even more openly communicate with people all over across the world, right from us, which is really cool, there at the same time has been a lot of people getting triggered and people telling people what they should or shouldn't believe. In a world where we can communicate, in a world where we can connect with other people, why aren't we remaining, oh, how would I say this? Why are we not protecting the sacredness of each individual's expression and journey? Why are we not safeguarding each other and being supportive and being facilitating a safe space to connect and to communicate, to share, right? This is the age where we get to share information, where we get to share perspectives, where we get to share and connect with each other, whether we agree or disagree with each other, but we still get to connect and hear and listen and apothesize and consider, what someone is sharing, or just listening. Why isn't that more important than someone saying you're wrong, I'm right, you're stupid, I'm smart, right? Oh, you just haven't experienced this yet, just wait, then you'll feel differently, like I'm so much more evolved than you must be a beginning of your spiritual journey. I hate that, because you cannot say that you know how old a soul is. You have no clue, right? Just a couple months ago, I was in my first mushroom journey with these little dudes, and I had my friend with me, Lindsay Mack, and I looked at her at one point. I don't know where I was in the come up of the journey, But I looked at her and I literally saw her soul transposed over her physical body. And it was like coming in and out. And I was seeing her face shift over each other. It was crazy. And I looked at her and I was like, oh, Lindsay, I can see your soul. She's like, really? And I was like, it's so ancient. I was like, you're so ancient. Like, you're so old. And, and it was like the highest compliment ever, is what I meant it as. And she started laughing, and I was like, no, really, you're ancient. Like, you're an old soul. Like, I was like, whoa. But I felt it wasn't so much what she looked like. It was like I realized who's in the room with me. And at the same time, I didn't feel less than. I didn't feel, there was no comparison. There wasn't even a thought of comparing. It was more of like I honored her in a deeper way. And I still can't like look at her the same. It really like shifted something for me with her. But I just realized like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool that like wow, what an honor to have her sitting with me in this journey and to be my friend, and also to have worked with me through some trauma shit because she's a psychotherapist. And I'm like, wow, like you're an old soul. This is so cool. Like what wisdom you have, you know? And like I just started honoring her, and it wasn't to pedestalize her. It wasn't to make her better than me or, you know, whatever. It just literally was just that recognition of who she is beyond this flesh suit. And it gave me such this fresh perspective on her that I just hadn't had before. You know, as much as I love and honored her prior to that, I just really saw a different Lindsay. I saw her soul. And so I think a part of me really aches for us to, as a collective, to come into that space where we honor each other at such a deeper level than what's being expressed right now. And because I know that ultimately everyone wants to be heard, everyone wants to be known, everyone wants to be felt. And that is why we share anything on the internet, is because there is a deep longing and a deep desire to be felt, to be heard, to be seen, to be known, to be acknowledged. We have that. That's part of, okay, maybe it's the ego, but who the hell cares? Like, it's just a desire that we all need and have. And I think because ultimately it's just such a way of connecting deeper in community. And we desire that. We long for that. So, all that to say, I want to encourage you that if you are feeling triggered by conspiracy theories, triggered by things that you read or listen to or hear on the internet or even in person, in your spiritual community, in your family, I would just say and encourage you to just remain calm and realize that everyone has their own sacred journey, and certain things are going to resonate for certain people that may not resonate with you. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that you need to disconnect right from them or change your community or change your family, right? Change your friendship circle. Maybe it does also mean that. Who knows, right? It's up to you to navigate that. It's your sovereign right to unsubscribe or to subscribe. So I would just encourage you that to not be threatened, I guess, to not be threatened by other people's beliefs, to not be threatened by what people resonate with, are hyped up about, or not. Stay in your sovereign lane. Stay in the place that feels in alignment for you. And don't be so easily threatened or thrown off by something that someone else believes. It's okay. It's all right that they believe that. That doesn't threaten your belief system. That doesn't threaten who you are or your journey. And you can listen and say, wow, that's really interesting. I've never heard that before, or I've never considered that. That's really interesting information. Do you mind sending me your resources if you have it, or if it's just a thought that somebody has? what led you to that thought? I always love to dig and ask the why. Why are you so passionate about that? Why is that igniting something in you? Why is that, what is that stirring in you? Is that stirring fear? Is that stirring peace, joy, love, hatred, anger, whatever it is? What is it stirring in you? I like to dig into that person and why something resonates so much with them. I love to ask the why, because it takes it off from me saying like, oh, like I agree or disagree. At that point, I'm just wanting to listen. They're expressing something that is obviously important for them and in this journey that they're on right now. And so I'm cool just to hold space for that and just to listen and say, that's really interesting, fascinating. Never even would have known that, considered that. That's really fascinating. Now, whether it resonates with me or it becomes my soul mission to like learn all about this, or not, is my choice, right? And I think that sometimes when people share, we can tell that they have the agenda to convert, right? Trust me, I grew up with this, and being a Christian pastor's kid, my brother and I, we would convert people in the ball pit at McDonald's. I mean, we would be on a converting mission because ultimately it was to save people from certain death, from hell, eternal hell and damnation. And so because we grew up loving people and we still do, we really felt like it was like, this is what we have to do. We need to do this. But I know now, when I have a conversation with somebody where I'm trying to turn their head, right, to like look in the direction that I'm looking, they can feel that energy. And even when that's been done to me, where it's like, okay, well, I'm sharing this with you and I'm expecting you to completely agree with me, like completely subscribe to what I'm subscribed to. And I've often had a hard time communicating that, like, I don't necessarily agree with you, and I don't have a formulated thought of why I don't agree with you. It just doesn't resonate, and that's fine. But I'm totally down to like listen, right? Listen to what you have to say and listen to why you believe it's true or why you're connecting with this at all. I'm happy to listen. It's really fascinating. And I'm happy to have a conversation with you about it, but I'm not ready to subscribe or unsubscribe, but I'm willing to just listen. And that's not always been easy to do, especially when someone's so passionate. But I just want to encourage you to just stay in with what resonates, with what aligns. Don't be easily threatened or thrown off. You are able and have all of the uh, you have all of the design within you, right, to communicate with spirit, to connect with spirit, your intuition, with higher realms of knowledge and wisdom. And not everything is meant to be experienced by you in this lifetime. But you can experience it from an outside perspective, right? Or you can just have some brief awareness on something. And then some things may clearly resonate with you, but not resonate so much with anyone else that you know. And so that's fine. Just stay in your lane. Just resonate with what resonates and align with what feels like is meant for you to align with. And there is nothing that can befall you. There's nothing that can happen to you. You cannot be dissuaded from truth or from your purpose, your soul's mission, why you came here. I don't really think there's so much like a right or wrong way, to experience this life. I think as long as we are in our power, in our sovereignty, we're in our own energy, which this is such a great time again to like really practice that along with nature, as nature is taking back the energy and going internal. You can do that too. The energy is all around you to internalize and go within and bring your energy back to yourself instead of having it scattered everywhere. But I would just encourage you to just be in what resonates, be in what aligns with you. And if something doesn't align, you feel a lack of peace around that subject or thought, just distance yourself from it. Like unsubscribe. That's okay. Unconsent. And you can communicate that with love. You can communicate that with honoring somebody else for subscribing to that. You can say it in a way that doesn't desacralize someone, but sacralizes yourself, right? When you honor yourself, you honor others. And when you honor others, you honor yourself. And so I think it's just wisdom, y'all. It's wisdom. And since this is like what we what we want is we want to express ourselves. We want to be seen, heard, and expressed and accepted, and we want to be heard, right? I think it's so important in this age where we're swapping info to be in what aligns and to be in what resonates, and to also at the same time be open to listening as well as open to sharing, and to honor people and to understand and communicate from a space of like every journey is sacred, whether it aligns with me or not, whether it triggers me or not. Every experience that someone is having is sacred to them as it is sacred to me. And so by honoring that, you can step aside, right? Step to the left, step to the right. Let them continue on their journey. You don't have to stand in front of them and prevent them from further expressing or experiencing, and going down that path. That's not our job, not our job at all. But we can also at the same time express concern or express, where we don't align with it, or why we don't resonate with something. And we can pose the question, have you thought of that? Have you considered this? Right? And that's where we can have that conversation. But I think it's really interesting to watch people get so triggered that they diminish and degrade other people for believing something. I don't care if it's cheese comes from the moon, or it's that, Freemasonry is a satanic cult, or that the jab is actually snake venom, or that we're getting radiated, chemtrails sprayed everywhere, and our water is toxic, our food is toxic. I don't care what it is, right? That someone agrees with or disagrees with. At the end of the day, it's my sovereign right to put energy into something or not, to subscribe or unsubscribe, and to experience what I want to experience and meant to experience in this incarnation. And I want that for other people. I want us to be able to have much more peace and a safe communication around things, whether it's a conspiracy theory or reality. And like the medicine told me, just a reminder to wrap this up in one conversation, is they said it doesn't really matter whether it's in your head or it's a lived experience. You've experienced it. It's a reality that you've experienced. Now, at what level? Okay, but it's still something you've experienced. It's still something that your body feels, your emotions feel, your thoughts think, right? It's still something that you may dream about literally, or, figuratively. It doesn't really matter. You're still experiencing it at some level. And so I'd say that, whether it's something you're thinking or something that's a lived reality in this human experience, you're still experiencing it to some level. So at the end of the day, every journey is sacred, right? Every expression is a sacred expression. And if it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't resonate with you. You can unsubscribe. If it resonates with you and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so enlightening, this is so amazing, this is something that truly sets me free, subscribe. Easy. Not always easy, but you know what I mean. So I love you guys, and I hope that this was inspiring to you. I hope that you got something out of this conversation, and that this also helps you to feel in your power, that you have the sole right to subscribe and unsubscribe to things, and that you don't need to convince other people what they should or shouldn't do, nor should you have anyone trying to convince you of what you should or shouldn't think, feel, do, experience, etc. So I really hope that you were encouraged, inspired, uplifted, empowered by this episode. If you would like to work one-on-one with me, I have sessions available, and I would love to work with you, whether it's to integrate this, embody something, heal, connect with. That's the general gist of the work that I do with people, is really helping them to connect deep within, to work through stuff, and get through things enough to where they feel reinvigorated, more safe in their energy, healed, integrated, embodied. And that's what I love to do. I solely believe that when we connect, that we automatically heal. That it's just a part, it's a byproduct really of connection with self, others, and the universe, source, spirit, God. And so I love that work. So if you want to work with me, please hit me up, DM me, comment below, and I would love to connect with you. I love you guys so much. This is an amazing season we're in, and so many things are happening and going to be experienced and going to be lived. And I just have more of an optimistic outlook. And I'm just excited to see you guys and to hear from you and your journey and everything that you're experiencing. So please comment below, share your thoughts, your insights, little things that you got from this, where you were inspired by this episode. I would love to see it and have the combo with you. So much love to you guys.